Good morning, team. So a couple of you have been asking for videotapes of the wrist flex flow, or the joint flow that we're doing. It starts with the 6 wrist flexes, and then the last 6 are elbow and shoulder flex. So we're going to do this video now, which is the first 6 wrist flex techniques, and then we'll give you a second one in a couple of days. I'm going to show you 2 different ways. The first way is I'm going to show you each one is a self-defense, and I'll give you as many talking points as I can. And the second way is the flow. So we're going to test people. They have to demonstrate the technique, and then they're going to have to demonstrate the flow as well. So we're going to start. The very first one is called a cross wrist flex. I'm sorry, change that. It's called a forward wrist flex. So if yes, sir.
And would you agree it's also called a wrist lock? A lot of people might
They're
think
all
it's a
locks,
wrist-
yes.
Okay.
Yep. So you can call it either or, but so wrist flex. So your attacker grabs you here. I'm going to come up. I'm going to grab the hand and pull off. At the same time, I'm going to make sure that the elbow gets bent here. And what I need to do is create the letter Z. If you were looking at it from a camera above, your arm becomes like a letter Z. And the tighter I compress this, the worse it is for him. So if it's out here, it's not so bad. When I move it into there, notice how his knees bent? That's how you know something's working on a wrist flex, because the knees will bend. I don't even do any real flex yet. So I move it in close. Now if I'm doing the self-defense, I'm going to grab with both hands. I'm going to step in and just ride him down. So that's a forward wrist flex. The next one is a backward wrist flex. There we go. So think about, he's got his hand in my face like this, right? So he's obviously not slapping me with his face. He's probably giving me an obscene gesture somewhere around there. So I'm going to grab with both hands, just like in Japanese hand. My thumbs are below the knuckles, pointed straight up to where his fingers are, and then I'm going to try and make this bone on his pinky, the knuckle bone, go to his wrist. And I'm going to turn at the same time to do this as a self-defense to take him down. So again, I'm just taking the hand, I'm taking the knuckle and the pinky, and I'm trying to drive it to where his forearm is. There we go, forearm, that's it. So that's the second one. The third one is a cross wrist flex. So he's reaching across. This one I think is the more challenging of all of them. I'm going to pin the hand, bring the hand up almost like it's a waiter's hand. I'm going to turn and grab, and now it's the same thing as the first one. I'm going to come in and down, and he's going to come right down. So let's take it one step further, because I want to incapacitate him. I'm going to come in, down, and then forward to bring him down. He wanted to get out of pain, so he just sat down quickly. But if you do it, think about it like a box. I go in, down, and walk this way. They'll end up laying flat. So that's the third one. Fourth one is going to be a downward wrist flex. So on a downward wrist flex, I'm going to take his hand and I'm going to go here. So the same thing as Japanese hand. Thumbs are below the knuckles, in between them. Thumbs are pointing the same direction as the fingers go. So that's a downward wrist flex. The fifth one is going to be, oh, come along. And this is one that police use, really common, to try and get somebody to kind of go where they need them to go. If an officer were using it, he would just come up from behind and he would put the lock in from behind before the person had a chance to respond. You know, Mr. M is dancing, means I have it right in place. So a couple of things we need to remember. I'm grabbing his bicep and pulling it in. I'm making sure his bone, his arm bones, I guess ulna bone, is parallel to the ground. If it's on an angle up or an angle down, it's not as effective. And then I'm going to hold the wrist, and I'm going to push the wrist straight back towards his elbow. As soon as his feet go up, you know it's working, and that's called, once again, come along. The last one is called a gooseneck. Very similar to a come along, except instead of coming into here, I'm going to come to my sternum bone, and I'm going to put it straight up and down. Mr. M's dancing again. I've applied almost no pressure. It's just really, really effective. Used a lot by police officers. Once again, we call this a gooseneck. So those are the 6 wrist flex. Now we're going to turn them into a flow. Flow or a kata is the way you think about it. So we start here, and in these I'm not going to fully engage them. I'm going to get them in position, I'm going to do it lightly, and then I'm going to automatically move into the next one. This is the tricky one. I put my hand back to back, I lay his hand, and I'm in. I'm going to go right to my downward wrist flex. I'm going to go straight into my come along, and then straight up and down, up. So those are the 6 wrist flows, team. Joint lock, wrist flow, however you want to call it. Couple of things. Punching and kicking is you exerting your power on somebody else. Joint flows and joint locks, they're not that. They're finesse. You know, I can thud somebody like really easily and use my power, but with a joint flow, I'm not using power, I'm using skill. So if you have to effort really hard to get the person to cooperate, you're doing it wrong. You need to slow down and take your time and really work on the quality of what it is you're doing. So that's the joint flow stuff, team. I hope that's helpful. Have a great day.